With the somewhat recent news about the upcoming Ben 10 comic, it got me thinking about the obscure or underutilized side characters who deserve a bit more love. Those characters who initially felt like a splash in the pond, or those who appear once or twice and really come across like they'd be series staples but then completely vanish without a trace. So let's discuss some of the side characters who deserve the treatment Omniverse gave Dr. Victor. So as our gold standard sort of blueprint here, in the classic series, Victor seemed to be a bit of a one and done character. He came in, certainly made an impact on the story and surrounding characters. He's certainly a very unique alien species and comes with some very interesting powers. He even ends up being a DNA sample for Ben at that, even having his own dedicated unique transformation sequence, and all while being a henchman for one of the big bads. That alone was enough to make him an engaging and fully realised side character. Then Alien Force came along and gave us quite an unanticipated return, and come Omniverse he receives a huge amount of character development, reappearing in the Galactic Monsters arc with a somewhat controversial new look and voice, even getting his own little character arc with Lord Transil. So using Dr. Victor as our golden example here, let's go over a few characters who are in desperate need of a return. First up, we've got a character who I alone am a fan of in Crab. He's got this really sleek design that feels right at home in the original series especially. Along with that, he fits in pretty perfectly with Tetrax and 6-6, who each got a fair amount of reappearances in the following series, some more than others. Just being one of the 3 bounty hunters called on by Vilgax in my mind means he has some notability to him. The way he handled Ben's Ghost Freak transformation, just being totally prepared for that species, always really stuck out to me. It sort of felt like he would have had an answer to any transformation Ben could have used. Going over it now, there isn't really much more to him. His voice actor is really good, I feel like he's really suited for him, and he feels like he should have reappeared more. I know he did make a brief appearance in Alien Force and Omniverse, but he didn't really get much character to him. Now I've got a character who's less of a character and more of a force of nature, an Aztec god with Akpak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Now I don't know if you need the full Dr. Victor treatment here, but it feels pretty off to me that you get introduced to a god in physical form in the series without any repercussions or anything. He's never stated to be an alien, there's no Anor system deal where he actually just ends up being on Earth and is inspired Aztec culture. He's actually just a god. Really felt like this could have been explored further with everything they did towards the end of Omniverse, with Kai and Ben being involved with wizards and museums and whatnot. Back to those bounty hunters I mentioned earlier, and possibly one of the more popular ones here, Tetrax. He felt like he had such a presence in the classic series despite only popping up a handful of times in classic, and that's including the films. And if you're not including the films, he literally appears once in classic and once in Alien Force. I know there's the Dimension 23 version we see, but it really felt more like a fun nod than literally our Tetrax. He left such a mark on the series. He's a mentor for Ben, he's a member of a species that's in the Omnitrix and isn't an antagonist. It just seems such a shame we didn't get to see any further appearances beyond that point. Now moving on to 2 separate characters who only appeared once but felt like they were supposed to be series staples at one stage or another. First up we've got Lieutenant Steele. He's not one I'm too fussed about not reappearing, but he really felt like he was supposed to cross paths with the Tennysons across the series. He starts off as this pseudo-antagonist who's suspicious of the main trio. I can so clearly see a natural progression for this character, reappearing in episodes here and there, maybe even having a full character arc where he discovers Ben's secret and becomes an ally to them. I can even see a version of this character joining the Plumbers in some capacity, and his no-nonsense attitude working so nicely in contrast to Ben's. I can even sort of see him teaming up with the Plumbers but still being his own force. And I'm now realising all these first picks are all from the classic series, so I promise this is our final classic series character. We've got Technorg. Being this super capable outer space gladiator, he leaves such a mark, probably quite literally on Ben and Kevin. At the end of his first and only appearance, he stays behind on the ship, presumably wailing on Kevin so that Ben could escape. Just like with Lieutenant Steele, it really felt like Technorg would wind up crossing paths with Ben in the future, only to never appear again. We even see the gladiator ship again with Kevin still on it. Presumably Kevin killed or exiled him, there's really no mention of him whatsoever, and to my knowledge I don't think he reappears in the series again. And the worst part is we even see a member of his species on Earth shortly after. I'm sort of avoiding some of the background villains. I know this one sort of may fall into that Liam or Festina category, but I'm going to make an exception for Sunder. He has such an aura to him. I know that's a trendy word right now, but he really does. He feels ripped straight out of DC Comics. If I'd never seen Ben 10 and he'd shown me this character, I would have believed if you told me he was a Superman villain sort of capable of going toe-to-toe with Doomsday. His design, especially in Omniverse, just exudes this larger-than-life presence. He's probably the character on this list I'd most like to see explored further. And finally, the 2 groups of characters who, for the sake of simplicity, I'll cover as groups rather than individually. I've spoken about both of these groups before, but I can't express enough how much I crave their reappearance. First up, we've got the Ultimates, the group of sentient ultimate forms brought to life by the Ultimatrix. What I wouldn't give to see what they're up to now. I'd like to think they're all sort of living in a commune off somewhere in outer space, or maybe each of them is living amongst their species they evolved from, though I don't have high hopes for Ultimate Humungosaur after what we see on Kuiper's ship in Omniverse. And next up, we've got Ben's Necrophrygian children he had as Big Chill. Come Omniverse, they're at least a few years old. Right now, as I'm recording, I'm sort of realizing these are no longer side characters and sort of characters who barely register as characters in their first and only appearance. Huge thank you to the Ink Tank for giving us their rendition of how the Necrophrygian children would have turned out. If you have any thoughts or feelings whatsoever, let me know. Otherwise, if you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate that. And if you want to support what I do here, please share the videos around, Discord, group chats, whatever. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.